Hello, everyone. Good morning or middle of the night. Hi, Aphrodite. We see you. Thanks for staying awake for this. I'm here with my friend Nicki, who will introduce herself in a few minutes. Oh, great. Sorry, I got distracted because now you can no longer cut the sound when the stream starts. Well, before it starts. So yeah. Anyway, so like I said, I'm here with Nicki. We're doing our monthly read along that's connected with our genre talk. We're talking about the gay contemporary romance today. And I hope some of you read it and enjoyed it, and we'll chat about it. But before we get into that, let's do the introductions. Nicki, would you like to say a few words about yourself and your wonderful books?
Sure. For those who don't know you, my name's Nicki, and I'm an author, as Alina says, and an editor. And you'll find me here on YouTube posting videos about my writing, editing tips, reading, and basically fangirling about all the other things that I love. And I do actually have a few writing-related things to share today, but I will do that at the end, as usual. So over to you, Alina.
So if you're new to my channel, my name is Alina. I'm a fiction writer, and my main areas of focus are contemporary romance, sci-fi and fantasy, and mystery. And yes, I know those include like 10 million genres. It's just easier to express it. If I just, limit myself to, it's just three. No, it's not, Alina. No, it's not. You've written in like three subgenres of, no, four subgenres of sci-fi and fantasy. Great. I'm trying to rebrand myself and make it easier for people to understand what I'm doing. So yeah, this is my channel. We've been doing genre talk for a long, long time, and which means like a year and some change, right?
So just over a year. Yeah.
Well, in YouTube terms, that's a lot of time for an ongoing series. So this year, as you know, because this is our third read along, we decided to also include a book from the genres we've discussed. Read it, share our thoughts, talk about where it matches the genres, whether it subverts it, whether it works, things like that, just to make our initial genre talk more in depth. And yeah, that's the plan for today. And we have a book where we have a slightly differing opinions, which is a first.
Yes, yeah. Usually we're pretty on track with each other, aren't we? Or
We're
so
on
far
the
we have been
same
with these.
length, yeah, and usually we are with books. But this one we had very, very different opinions on. And I feel like I'm in a very small minority because most people have enjoyed this book. But before we go into that, would you like to do an intro?
Sure. So this book is written by CM Valencourt. They're an American author, mostly writing romance, and I believe this is their third release so far. So they're a fairly new writer. In this story, we meet Amir, who's a slam poet, and he has a day job working in a cafe. He's in a group of poets, and they like to go to national competitions and things together. However, tension arises when a new guy called Landon joins their team, and he and Amir embark on a kind of bitter rivalry as they're both vying for a position in the group. However, as in many enemies to lovers type tales, these feelings begin to take on a slightly passionate overtone as well. So that just gives you a little introduction to the story. So do you want to start with a few sort of overview comments, Alina?
Yeah, I would like to say that the thing that sold me into reading this was that it's supposed to be an enemies to lovers kind of story. Oh, sorry. It's no problem, Aphrodite. We appreciate you watching. It's absolutely no problem if you're in bed and can't respond because it's the middle of the night for you, and we totally understand. So yeah, it's supposed to be an enemies to lovers sort of story, and that sold me because I love these stories. I like people who seem so different but then find a common ground, and it's one of the tropes. I'm like, if I see it, I'm going to try the book. And the slam poetry aspect is it's an interesting take. It wasn't something that appealed to me because I'm not into slam poetry, and I was afraid it will be just too much. And that's why I asked you about it, actually, because you read it before I did, and
Yes.
it's not. I think it's just enough to give you the atmosphere of it, and not enough to make you want to like stop reading because it's just too much and you're not interested. Um, I think it's a book that chose a very good trope to explore in the contemporary romance genre, one that sells to a lot of people. Obviously, I was sold on this, but that's the one thing that attracted me. I had like mixed feelings going in because of the slam poetry aspect. No, sorry, my dog is being very naughty today. There might be interruptions. I don't know. I don't get it. It's fine. So yeah, that's my, let's say, my initial analysis of the book.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, I mean, when I first saw this book, I was reading about the blurb and things. Definitely, the enemies to lovers, as you say, that kind of attracted me because I quite enjoy that style as well. I actually, unlike you, was attracted by the slam poetry simply because I'd never actually heard of it. I'd never heard of these poetry slam competitions before, so I sort of went into it thinking, oh, well, it'd be quite interesting. Never heard of this kind of stuff. Might be interesting to find out. Like you, I did think the level that it was included was about right. There was enough to give you an idea of what's going on. We got a couple of example poems, but it wasn't too much poetry being thrown at you all the time. So I did think that was a really good balance of giving us that world and introducing us to what was going on without giving us so much that we were bored of hearing about it.
Yep. No, that's right. Oh, he sat down finally. Sorry, I'm just.
Yay! He's active this morning.
I don't know what his problem is. Because he's been outside, he's been on a walk. I do that before the streams. I've learned it the hard way. It's better to just do it first. So yeah, I agree with you. It's enough. I had heard of slam poetry before. I wasn't a big fan. I've seen some recordings on YouTube, to be honest. And I'm like, I don't know. It's not my thing. I can appreciate it for what it is and for the art of it, but it's just not my thing. To be fair, I'm very particular with poetry in general. There's very little that I enjoy. Not a lot of it new. Let's just say that.
I'm probably the same. I do tend to go to the 19th century a bit for poetry, and that's about it.
I'm sorry. It's not that I didn't try. I did try. I bought books. I read. I do like some authors, and I love everything they put out. Like my friend Jake, who's on Facebook, who used to post some of her poetries on her Facebook account.
Right.
And I've always enjoyed those. But that's a different type of poetry. It's shorter. It's a bit darker.
Right.
Anyway, but I'm just trying to say it's not that there's something with slam poetry that doesn't click with me. It's just poetry in general. I'm very particular, so it's probably the reason why I was a bit concerned going into this, because if I know I'm like 70% probably not going to like the poetry part.
Yes, yeah.
I feel like I'm biased about the book, but to be fair, that was not the thing I didn't like about the book. Like, that was, like I said, nicely done. They got into it enough that you got a taste of the world, of the competition, of their concerns, and not enough that I have to have like in-depth knowledge or an actual passion for slam poetry, which was great. Other things not so great, but I'm trying to think about it. Like usually I don't look at other reviews when I'm supposed to do something like this. I don't, because I try not to be biased, but I feel like most people enjoyed this book, and that the concerns I have with it are kind of like they're my preferences, which is not to have selfish bastards as your main characters. But yeah, I was looking through the reviews. Everybody seemed to enjoy it, and people who didn't actually had a big problem with Amir.
Yeah.
I had a way bigger problem with Landon and everyone around Amir, because it's just wow. Like I feel like the cast of character is a bunch of typical millennials that complain a lot about a lot of things but don't do much to change it.
Yeah.
And I know not all millennials are like that. I'm at the very start of the millennial group, by the way. Before we get into this, I'm like, I saw an actual stand-up comedy on this, and it was called Older Millennial. That's what I am, because that's the generation I'm in. I'm sorry, I just got there at the start, so I'm bashing my own people, basically. But I was like, you guys are living in a very different world than mine. Typically, that's true because you're in a different continent in the Western world, while I grew up in Eastern Europe. So my perspective on things is get a life. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's like oh, and by the way, the moment one of the characters is trying to do something really cool and work really hard to get said life and chase their dreams, nobody supports them. Like nobody. And the whole premise of this was very weird to me because everyone expected a lot of loyalty from Amir, like his slam group and Landon, but in the beginning of the book, no one showed him any loyalty. Like he was the only one in the group with a shaky position.
Yeah.
But he's expected to be super loyal. So that rubbed me the wrong way. Like it really kind of and I probably kept reading because I was hoping Amir would get everything he wanted, including the contest and whatever. The tour, and it wasn't quite like that, and I felt like he had to compromise a lot for no good reason. That's it. That's the bit about it that bothered me. It's a nice story, and it happens, and there are people like that out there. It just it annoyed me.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying. I think that most of the characters were pretty selfish for quite a good chunk of the book. I mean, I guess if I talk about the things I liked, I did like the pacing. I thought that worked quite well.
Was really good.
I thought that was nicely handled. It all kept moving along at a good speed. You didn't feel sort of bogged down and bored at any point. I liked that their relationship wasn't complete insta-love. Because sometimes I see enemies to lovers going that way a bit. It's like, I hate you, but right from the start, they're like, I fancy you as well. And I did like that they didn't really get that straight away, that there was a bit of build-up, that they weren't quite aware of it for a little while. And I did quite enjoy that amusing dream sequence where he's telling him, your poem's the worst thing I've ever read, and then they're like kind of making out. I thought that was like a really fun moment.
It was. It kind of shows Amir's self-esteem in that, like, which is not a lot. And I don't think any of this and the relationship in general did any good to Amir's self-esteem. Just to
no.
But I just like to, because I had issues with some of the things the characters did, I would like to point out that I DNF books I don't like and never talk about them. So this isn't a book I thought was bad or anything. I just didn't like the characters. But you don't need to like the characters to appreciate the book. If I really didn't like the book, I wouldn't have read it.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. I don't really bitch about books I don't like. I'm not into that. So I feel like I should just clear that up before we get into the conversation about the book, because I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression. I read through this in 2 days. Clearly, it wasn't a bad book. But I agree with you. That part about them coming together was really nice. What I didn't like as much was the relationship afterwards, because I don't understand why these two people are together.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see. I kind of liked that. Yeah, they had this sort of angry spark that maybe they'd want to get out of their system, but I didn't see them having a future. At most, it was a happy for now. I don't think they have a happy ever after in their future, because they're just too fiery and they're too different, and they're not really interested in Amir, perhaps a bit more, but Landon's certainly not interested in compromising or
not at all.
giving up his selfish attitude.
The only character that's not that selfish at the end of everyone is Amir. Which, okay, he's kind of the protagonist. Although it's hard to say that in a romance, because you have like two main characters that come together, but it feels like he's a protagonist and Landon is his love interest, reading through the book. So fair enough, but when you change this much and people don't respond in kind, that's the point where you burn the bridges and never look back. Of course, when I was... I think they're like in their mid-20s in the book, if I'm not mistaken. When I was in my mid-20s, I was a very dedicated people pleaser, so I'd probably be more like Amir than I would like to admit. But I'd be like that in a social kind of thing. Career-wise, I would have dropped those people in a second, because, oh my God, at a certain point, he gets very busy and everybody's angry with him. And I was like, how long did this take? And you realize it's been 2 weeks or something like that. 2 or 3 weeks, where he got really busy and he had like zero support from everyone. And then I have a thing with loyalty. Like I dislike disloyal people, because I dislike them a lot. And I feel like nobody's loyal to Amir in that. He's just there to fill a spot, which could easily be given to Landon if they wanted to, and apparently everybody wants to. But then when he gets his own thing, instead of supporting him, maybe, feel a little guilty about how he treated him, they're all still focused on their own thing. And they just don't care about him. And he has to drop everything just to appease people in his life, which I'm not happy with. And
I can see you walking around with like a little slogan card, like, help Amir, and like justice for Amir.
Yeah, no, I feel like Amir just needs, he needs to talk to someone who would then help him through, dealing with his self-esteem issues. And he needs like an intro to toxic relationships. That's all. But I mean, and it's a shame, because I feel like you shouldn't get this message that you have to change everything about you for people who wouldn't change anything about themselves just to be in a happy relationship. I think that's what bothers me, because it can lead to that idea, the way the book is set up, and that's not a healthy relationship as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've read darker stuff with people doing a lot darker things to each other, and this kind of feels like on the same level of unhealthy to me, because I don't know, but it's someone in their mid-20s, and like you've said, this feels more like a happy for now than anything. And because of that, I'm willing to cut it some slack. I would like to see a second book in this series with Amir actually finding someone better suited. It's mean. it's mean, but these two characters they feel wrong for each other. That's the whole deal. It's just a feeling I get, and I think maybe the point in my life where I'm at does play a part in this. Yeah. Because I have a stricter view on relationships now, on what's good or bad for you, basically. So that might be it. But either way, the book made me have feels, like strong feels about things and opinions, which a nice plus for the book, because I think at the end of the day, that's the important part, that the book leaves you thinking about the issues discussed within it, and it stays with you for a while. So
yeah, rather than just something you read and forget about the second you put it down. Yeah.
I definitely, I forgot all the names of the supporting cast, because that's me. I forget my own characters.
I have to confess that the only ones I instantly remembered were Amir and Landon. So I did have on my little notes here, I had written down what all the friends' names were after I read it, because I thought I probably would forget them. Yeah, I remembered Charlotte for some reason. I could handle Charlotte, but the other girls, like, I wasn't sure. So I did jot them all down before we started.
Yeah, no, I think it was. I usually am bad with names. We all know that. I forget my own character's names. It's fine, but I think it was also because of my dislike. Because the only person whose name I could remember with no problem was Amir. And everyone else was like, I don't care. You're mean. Because I think it's like the way it's set up from the start, where Amir is with this group of friends who he's been hanging out with forever. He's been working with them forever. And then something new and shiny comes along, and they immediately get him in the group. And it's Amir who's about to lose his spot at Nationals. And that just rubbed me the wrong way. Like, if you want to do what's best for your group, that's fine, do it. But then when Amir is trying to do the same thing for himself and his career, everybody has a problem with it all of a sudden. So it's the double standards that I have issues with.
Shall we now consider it then as an example of contemporary romance, where it sits, what kind of marks it out as that, or in particular, like where you think it is a good example or where it isn't?
I think it's a good example of establishing a relationship between people who hate each other. That's first. For that build-up part is a great example. For the relationship itself, I don't know, maybe. I've certainly seen couples who make more sense together. That's the only thing. Like these two people don't feel like a couple that should stay together for a long time.
Right.
And even at the end of the book, when Amir shows up, like nobody's concerned for what this will mean for him, if he's going to get any, I don't know, damages to pay or something. He just dropped an entire tour. Nobody's at all worried. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't know if it's a good example or a bad one. I think it's an example of how to do it and keep people invested all the way. Apparently people like it, judging on reviews. I looked on Amazon, not on Goodreads or things like that, because we all know how good Goodreads can get. But for the trope itself, how it's used to attract readers and, set up a relationship, it's a very good example. It's a very good example for including a hobby within a book, or a secondary career, let's call it. Because I'm not sure if slam poetry is a career path for everyone in the book except Amir. Because Amir really is shown as being super into it.
Yeah.
Everyone else, yes and no.
Yeah, it feels a bit more like a hobby, I think, for some of them. Yeah.
Yes. So for that, it's a very good example. It's not a good example of a healthy relationship. Let's just put it like that. But not all relationships are healthy, and we should write about all of them. Whether it's a good idea or not to portray that sort of relationship in gay romance in particular, I'm not sure. I think it could be a bit of a gamble because, there's been a lot of talk about, LGBTQ fiction would turn badly and, have not that great examples for people to follow. But then again, it's fiction and it's romance. There are things about it that will always be kind of fantastical and not things that happen in real life. There are not that many meet cutes in real life, let's be honest.
No.
So overall, it's a good example. It has a good execution. And I think because they are such a new author, in the future, they'll get a lot better at this and have an even better and more believable relationship. To be fair, the other two books I haven't read, so I can't say, but that's my feeling.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think, as you know, I haven't read a great deal of contemporary. When I read LGBT fiction, it tends to be paranormal fantasy. So this was one of only really a handful. And I think, I've read a few of your contemporaries, but other than that, I've not read many. So
let's face it, mine are kind of angsty and dark, so we can't compare.
They are, yes. So I was sort of coming to it with not a huge amount of expectation for what an MM contemporary should be. And as we've said, overall I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, I think, from memory, for my review, because there were things that I didn't 100% like, and it was what you were saying about the relationship just not being one that I thought was going to work in the long term, and the sort of selfishness of the characters. That was the reason it sort of got knocked off the 5-star and got a 4 for me, because I've had the same feelings, but I just didn't feel them probably quite as strongly as you did, because I enjoyed the pacing, as I said, and I enjoyed the way the relationship developed, even though I didn't like the eventual relationship. I liked the sort of build up to it. I thought that was nicely handled. And I think it does fit a lot of the contemporary tropes of that sort of friends to lovers, a bit of conflict in that relationship initially. And as you mentioned, I did like the idea of linking it to this slam poetry, which perhaps isn't something that all the readers will have come across before, like me, and would find it interesting to learn more about it.
Yeah, I find that anything you can put like that, it makes it interesting, because you think people have come across a lot of things, but that's not true. It's just your opinion of it. Because let's say like anime and manga, because of the world around us and the people we're connected with, we think a lot of people have a lot of ideas about this, or YouTube in general, or what being a YouTuber means. But when I started doing the Famous on the Internet series, like with the 2nd and 3rd book, when I was talking about travel blogging and then being a YouTuber, I realized that some people had no idea how that worked. And to me, it seemed like a thing that everybody knew about, because of the world I'm in, and our connections kind of define our world. And if all you see around you are people who know some things, you might think they do, and then they don't, and you feel super happy that you included it, like it was with slam poetry for you. So I think that was a great choice, and I like seeing that in books. I really do. And like I said, even if I was worried, that wasn't the part that I disliked. I actually enjoyed it. I liked the entire setup for it. So yeah, I mean, if I look at the cover, it's dead on. The final cover, not the one we saw for the arc. Because that was not exactly, I never saw that as fitting the genre well, but that was just an arc cover. So we're talking final cover now. It's kind of spot on for contemporary romance. And I think like everything kind of works together well. I'm not sure. I mean, this is the first in a series, I should say that. From what I've seen, glimpses of the 2nd book, they will focus on different characters.
Yeah, I think so.
Although I would totally read the 2nd book about Amir
Yeah, we'll see him get his happy
Finally-
ever after.
finally learning how to, you know, respect himself and be more confident and just, you know, be with someone who can take 2 weeks of busy work. Like,
Yeah.
that triggered me. Like, oh, no, it didn't trigger me. I'm not using that word. I'm sorry. That upset me because also personal issues, but I hate it when people act like if you don't pay enough attention to them for like 2 weeks of your life when you're super busy, you're an awful person. Especially when they had like previous knowledge of this.
Yes, like they know it's coming.
I remember them
legitimate.
talking about it, that he'll be super busy with this because it's such a short time frame to produce a lot of poetry. And so it's not like you didn't know about it. It's not like you planned a luxurious holiday and all of a sudden, instead of, you know, enjoying their holiday, your partner is working. It's not that sort of thing. You knew about it. You encouraged them at first, but then when they actually need encouragement and support, you're being not there and upset with them. Oh yeah, and I would like to mention something because we didn't touch upon it. There's character development for Amir that happens off page, like really mean things he's supposedly done that we heard about, not from the people who experienced them, but like from a third party. Someone telling Amir that he did something to a different friend, which we never see on page. We only see him working, like,
yeah,
and that felt off. If there's something that I would say it's a writing style flaw of the book, that's the only one. That kind of needed to be on page or not there at all. But I think that was,
if it was that important, we should see it. Yeah.
Yes, but I think that was added there just because otherwise everyone would sound like a total asshole around Amir.
Yeah.
So I understand it. I just think it should have been on page or removed because it didn't do much to redeem the friends. Because it wasn't even the person who supposedly he did that to.
Yeah.
That was complaining about it. It was a different friend scolding Amir for. I don't know how you can descend into being the worst person on earth in 2 weeks of being busy. Like, that just makes no sense to me. If it was like a longer period, like a few months in which he behaved like that, everything would have made sense. But no, it's a really short time span. So yeah, that was the only point where I think it was an issue of writing style, or, you know, showing versus telling, when showing would have worked better. But that was the only one thing I could find. Other than that, pacing was great. Everything worked nicely. It was nicely written. I didn't get bored. I didn't skip. I didn't do any of those things. But because there's an ongoing conversation on showing versus telling, I thought it made sense to discuss it because we're talking genre as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my thought on it. Like, it's I always don't know how to phrase these things exactly because I don't want anyone to think that I didn't like the book. It's not that. I just didn't like the characters much. And, you know, I think, you know, maybe that makes sense to be discussed because if at the end of the romance, you kind of hope they will break up soon. I'm not sure if that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But happy for now is a thing in romance. It exists. It's perfectly fine, and I don't mind it. I really don't mind it at all. But some people might. I don't know. I know that. I mean, I have a happy for now in a series. They break up in the second book. Fine. Nobody was upset about that. And it kind of led to a hold my beer moment.
Yeah.
Later on, because of that first character, everyone was saying like, "Oh my God, he's irredeemable. Nobody can redeem this. Please don't try." And I was like, hold my beer. I'm going to do it, and I am going to do it. I just have a lot of books before that. So yeah, that I'm weird. So I don't mind the happy for now, and the fact that it doesn't look like a stable relationship. But I don't know how other people will react. Of course, other people might not read into it that they're wrong for each other. And from what I've seen, that's the case.
Yeah, I think it is quite interesting. So I think with romance, more than any other genre, you have lots of people that agree that it's a well-written book, and as we've been discussing, the pacing's good and all that. But if you have people that dislike the characters and people that like the characters, then you're going to come out still with a very different interpretation of what you've read and how you feel about it.
Yes.
It's very subjective. I think more than any genre of romance is very subjective from a character sense.
Yes.
You do kind of feel if you don't connect with those characters in a romance, it matters more than in a non-romance plot, I think.
Yeah. And I think that was my biggest issue because no, come here. Sorry, he's going straight for the camera. It's fine. Like the huge camera that belongs to my boyfriend and is probably more expensive than my entire laptop. So I'm sorry. What was I saying? Oh yeah, characters. It's a matter of connection, I think, and I couldn't connect with these characters because they seem like just young people who need to get a life, which sounds like I'm 80. I'm sorry. Because you don't need to like a character in order to connect with them. And I think the reason why... No. Wait, let me just...
He just wants some attention today, I think.
I'm going to let him go out of my room.
Yes.
So maybe that will fix it. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. See you in a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to keep things moving while we wait for Alina to come back, it is such a subjective thing, character, and particularly for the romance, because as Alina said, you don't have to like them, but you have to feel a connection with them and feel that, not necessarily, when I say like it, I don't mean it in thinking they're a nice person necessarily, but just finding them believable, interesting, that you want to know more about them and you want things to work out for them. Or not work out for them if it's a villain, either way. But although I too tend to be drawn to the villain, so usually I'm don't work out for them.
I remember once reading this sci-fi book where there was this huge predator on ship, kind of like Alien style. I think it was one of the short stories that later inspired it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It was an anthology of stories, and this huge beast, you had most of the story, I think all of the story, from its POV, and it was such a smooth killer, like great predator, and I was rooting for them. I was like, it was so nice. Because I'm I was a kid, I didn't know much. Now I'd still root for them now. It was because of how the story was written, and I mean, it was like, us trying to get rid of ants when they invade our home. It was that level of disconnect between the alien being and humans. So
I just want to quote Loki now and do like an ant has no quarrel with a boot.
Yep. Pretty much. So yeah, I don't mind that, but I think that was the disconnect was my issue with it. And I think people who are in that lower age range will connect better, or at least understand it. But no, connect better because I have friends who behave like that. That's probably why. And I think the reason why I did connect with Amir a bit and kept being invested in this book throughout it was because I remember being there. I remember being that silly person who tried so hard to please everyone when they were like not budging at all. And I did that with a group of friends, not just with boyfriends. So I get it. I just I think I was younger. I don't know.
What about adaptations? We usually discuss adaptations at this point.
I think this would work nicely as a movie.
Yeah, I thought maybe a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, I think like one of the Netflix romances that pops up. Because those are well done. That would work nicely, and I think the whole slam poetry aspect of it would work well because you have a stage and people doing their bit on the stage, and the audience in the club. It can be very visually attractive, and there's a lot of the book that happens with a lot of people around, so it would translate easier to a visual medium, let's say.
Yes.
I would like to see a visual novel done of this, where I can just completely ignore Landon and have other possibilities. Follow different paths.
Yeah, like a choose your own adventure for Amir.
Yeah, well, but in a visual novel style, because again, I think it works nice.
I was kind of picturing, as I was reading this, I was kind of picturing someone like Denzil Whitaker or Stephen James playing Landon. And I really wasn't sure about Amir, but I had a quick Google, and I thought Ray Danker maybe would play Amir.
Who's that?
But I'm trying to think what else he was in, because I've seen him in stuff. I'm going to Google him again now.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
I remembered at the time, I was like, oh yeah, I do know him. And then now I'm saying I can't remember what it was I saw him in.
It's all good.
Oh, Eyes Wide Open, that was it. Which was a really interesting movie. Definitely, if people haven't seen Eyes Wide Open, it's a really good film. It's about 10 years old now, I think, but yes, it is 10 years old. But it was really good, and I liked him in that. And so when I sort of was looking, I was like, oh, I know that guy. He was from that film.
I'm trying to find the IMDb entry for it so that I can figure out who the actor is. Okay.
It was 2009, Eyes Wide Open.
What did you say his name was? Because I forgot, obviously.
Randanker. If I'm pronouncing it correctly. Apologies to anyone if I'm not.
Okay. Is he in the extended cast?
He played Esri.
Okay, I think that's easier to find.
He comes up second in the cast list on mine.
Oh, yeah, maybe it would work if I was looking on the right movie. Because I searched for Eyes Wide Open, and what do you think it showed me?
Something completely different.
Eyes Wide Shut. Because why not? Jesus Christ. No, this is, oh my God, this is so hard. What year did you say it was in?
2009.
9. Okay. Oh, the one where they translated the title in Romanian for some reason. The IMDb site. Oh God, this location thing. Okay, let me. Yep, that would work. Although, I mean, if they hurry up and make the movie, sure. Otherwise, he'll be like
he'll be too old. Yeah.
As old of a millennial as I am, because we're kind of the same age. But you know, he's a movie star, so they might make him look younger. But if they go past that, well, there's CGI, so we're fine. It works. Definitely works. It's nice that we already find a cast for the books we're reviewing. I'm thinking the author might have a problem with that because I'm pretty sure they already have a clear image of how Amir would look. But yeah, apologies for that. On the upside, we would really see this as a movie, so that's a win, I guess.
Yeah, I can definitely see it working, as you say, as like a sort of Netflix film, streaming film release. I think it could definitely work. Yeah,
I'm not sure if it would be like a like a cinema type of
No,
romance?
I don't think a big blockbuster release. No.
No, because those usually, it's not because of the book, it's because of the type of movies they make. They either do romantic comedies, or if they go with other types of romance, they're usually dark and depressing, and
psychological thrillers, and
or like really dramatic ones where it all ends in tragedy, basically. So that is why it's not that we don't think it's good enough. We just it's not exactly what they do, and the movie industry, more than the book industry, tends to stick to very clear niches, and they don't stray out very often because they need to make money, a lot of it. So yeah, that's the reason why. But yeah, it would work as a movie though.
So on that note, Alina, I think we've kind of covered everything. Do you have any sort of final comments on the book you want to add?
Yeah, it was a very interesting read for me. And I think the lesson in this is, if you think you don't like something, maybe you should give it a try anyway. I have a rule for myself. If I feel strongly about a book for the wrong reasons, I go ahead and read it and, get my own opinion on it. So this was a really nice surprise in terms of how they work the hobby or second career within the book. It was interesting for me from the writer's perspective as well, to see how the relationship was built up, how the pacing worked in the book. It also bears to mention that I read a lot more gay contemporary romance than Nicki does, and probably that's why I'm a bit more strict about certain things.
Yep.
But other than that, it was a really great book for someone so new, and interesting. And if you read it and feel like I'm completely wrong about it, and Amir and Landon make the best couple ever, that's great. It's a very personal thing, as Nicki said earlier. So take everything we say with a grain of salt, because, like Nicki said, romance, more than any other genre, is a very personal experience in how you connect with the characters. So yeah, that's my closing statement of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably agree. I think I gave it 4 stars. As I said, I liked the pacing. I liked the idea and the sort of premise behind the story. I didn't 100% think the relationship was a happy ever after, going to work out kind of deal. And that was the only thing that didn't quite work for me. But in terms of the writing in general, I thought it was a fairly solid piece. And as we say, CM Valencourt is fairly new. I'd very much like to try some more of their work in the future and see how they've developed as a writer and what sort of stories they're putting out in the future.
Yeah, same here. So yeah.
On that note, we usually have a bit of a wrap up about talking about what we've got going on, Alina, and what we've got coming up on these streams.
But before that, maybe we should announce our next book. Just saying.
We can indeed. We can indeed do that. So perhaps we should mention the next book first, and we're going to be talking about, drumroll, Alina.
Vicious? We're talking about Vicious, right?
By V.E. Schwab. Which I'm actually really excited to chat about, because it's my new cunt obsession. I just finished reading it a few days ago. I'm such a Victor Vale fangirl now. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Alina thinks of it and having a discussion with her. So that is going to be, we probably aren't going to be doing that till September.
Yes.
It would have been August, but Alina's got some stuff on. So
okay, so let's get into that real quick. I will have my surgery at the end of July. I'm not exactly sure how long it will take to recover. It will be way shorter than last time, but I still don't know. So I'm trying to not put a lot of pressure on the month of August, because we all know how that turned out in the past when I put too much pressure on myself to get back into the grind of things. 2 months, 3 months without releases. Anyone? Do you remember that? Earlier this year, that's what happened. And I accidentally wrote different things than what I was supposed to. So I'm not doing that again. So I apologize. We'll probably skip a month and depending on how our schedules work, either do both or the read along and the genre talk in September, or just do September and October. It's fine. Either way for me, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's the reason why. But on the upside, you have like 3 months to read the book with us and join us in this conversation. I did not link to the book in the description because I wanted us to announce it live, but I will leave a link to it in the description post stream.
Yeah. So
yeah.
We're looking forward to that anyway. We'll be having a good chat about that one, I'm sure. And we will be back, of course, in July still before that.
Yes.
We'll be on my channel next month, and we'll be doing our just normal genre talk. And we're actually talking, I believe our schedule is RPGs. We're going to have a little natter about RPGs.
Yeah, lit RPG. Yeah, we'll talk about it a bit.
Yeah.
That's the genre we're both kind of not that well versed in.
Exactly. So
we're better versed in the genre as at least me, as an anime trope and manga trope than an actual book trope. But I did look into it quite a bit in the past because I've seen a lot of authors pop up in that genre. So I think it bears discussing because it's an attractive genre for a lot of people, and I think there are things you should be very aware of before jumping in.
So if any of you do know a lot about it, or you've got any comments or questions that you'd want us to discuss as part of it, do let us know those in the coming weeks, and we'll try to include them.
And yeah, if you have no idea what lit RPG is, it's when your characters get transported into a sort of a game, like Sword Art Online. So just, if you don't know it, you have time to look into it, and we'll definitely chat about it. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
now let's get into the promo, because I'm so looking forward to your promo.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to start?
No, you should definitely start.
Okay, so I've got a couple of things to share with you. First up, for those who haven't seen it so far, I do have a free read that's been going on my Tableau page, which is called For the Devil a Crown, and it's an MF romance with a bit of sort of paranormal steampunk going on, set in Victorian England. So once we finish the stream, I will pop a little link in to the comments for that for you.
You can give me a link, and I'll put it in the description so that everyone can find it easily.
Awesome. We will do that in a second for you. So that's ongoing. I'm actually going to be putting up the 8th chapter next weekend, which will bring us to the halfway point. So it's a great time to jump in if you haven't started it so far. I basically put a new chapter up every fortnight, and that'll go until the end of September when the story is done. In the meantime, I do have a piece of exciting new news, which it's so new that it hasn't even made it into my update video that I filmed for June the other day, because I filmed that video a day before and got it all scheduled on YouTube a day before I got the news. But I have had a seasonal short story accepted by Dream Spinner for their advent calendar this year. So that'll be
Congrats.
Contemporary. It's called A Stitch in Time is the working title at the moment. And I'll have more news in the next few months once all the contracts are signed and everything's happening with that. But the main piece of news today is that tomorrow, it's the time things that confuse me. I think it's something like 36 hours for you in America, guys. It's only 24 for me. But I have a new release coming out from Nine Star Press. It's called Blood is Forever. And this is a novel that's paranormal romance with a bit of a murder mystery twist going on. So I will also provide Alina with a quick link to info about that that she will add for you as well.
Definitely. I've already read the book, by the way, in case you were wondering why I was this excited. Yeah, I finished the book I got it from you, and I finished it in like a day or two. So it's a really great book. You should definitely read it. Quite unexpected of you, Nicki, to go to certain places. I really enjoyed what you did with the love interest. And we'll talk more about this after stream, but the rest of you should really read the book. And if you want to see my thoughts on it, there will be a review about it on my Amazon book blog, which will probably finally restart my book blog, because it's been kind of dormant for let's not talk about it. There's just not. There's just not. So yeah, that's why I was so excited. I really love the book. It's super awesome. And it's a very interesting take on the paranormal.
It's a little bit darker. It's a bit darker than some of my other stuff, I think.
Yes. It's quite dark compared to your usual style. It's probably why I liked it so much. So yeah, that was so interesting. Just a second, let me just grab a link from here. So back to what I've been doing.
Yes.
Well, this month, past month, in May, I finally got back into the swing of things and released 2 books, actually. One was a box set. It's a box set of the first 4 books in the Just Don't series. So the entire first arc is included in that box set. It's available in Kindle Unlimited. And I suggest, if you want to continue with the series, you read it, because the next book will be coming out this month. So it starts a new story arc, but as this is a serial, it will spoil the previous books if you haven't read them. So it's better to read them all. And now you have a convenient box set that's obviously cheaper than all the other books. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And also the big news, someone finally took the plunge into the mystery world, and I've released Find a Man, Don't Settle Down, which is the first book in the Owl Investigation Mysteries series. And I've been a wreck ever since I launched it. I'm just now starting to recover. I don't know why I was this stressed out. It's not like it's my first release, but because it was a new genre and because I really enjoy mysteries, I wanted it to go well. And it did kind of go really well.
Good.
Way better than I expected it. So yeah, I'm now working on the second book, which you will have a pre-order for this month. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. There are links to stuff in my description. Also, if you want to try some of my books for free, you should check out my newsletters. They're also linked below, and it's alina-popescu.com/free reads. You can check everything I have and, get an idea of what to do. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation. I hope it helped give you a better idea of the genre and how books work within the genre, because that's our purpose with these read-alongs. We'll get back to you with the date for our next genre talk, which will be on Nicki's channel. So if you haven't subscribed already, the link to her channel is in the description, and I will add the links to her serial and the new book, so you can check it out.
Excellent. We will see you all again in a few weeks. It'll probably be early July. We'll just nut out some dates later on, but we will let you know and pop up a video in advance for you so you can see us coming. Yes. And don't forget to grab your copy of Vicious if you wish to do the read along with us, which will likely be in early September, depending on how Alina's schedule works out. Yeah. I mean, if I recover faster, we'll do it in August. Just probably not. But I'm going to try my best. Like, my idea is that I'll be walking out of the hospital. I think that will happen, and if that happens, I'll still have a month in August to recover, so I'll probably be able to do it. But I just don't know. Like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for this, but I'll try my best to be back as fast as I can without pushing myself too hard, which is a fine line to walk for me. And I usually get it wrong. I stumble and fall. Hopefully don't break anything while falling. Hopefully only a figurative fall and not a literal one, Alina. Oh, God, yeah. Again, thank you so much for being here with us. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Bye, everyone.